I'm McKenna Connolly, and the article I will be reporting on is by Breitbart News. It is titled "The Border Showdown: The Governors Across the U.S. Stand with Texas Against Feds." This article was published on January 25th of 2024, and it is reporting on the border crisis between Mexico and the United States. The border crisis is ongoing, so it is hard to report on exact statistics as they do change every day. But this article is specifically highlighting that now across the United States, governors and different people in different states are starting to stand up for this border crisis and contradict Biden's open border policies. Recently, this last week, Texas has implemented their own forces in the border and put up razor wire in Eagle Pass, Texas. Eagle Pass, Texas is one of the busiest spots where illegal immigrants cross, and it's impossible to know exactly how many immigrants cross through into the United States, but nearly 50,000 were reported and apprehended last week alone. These numbers are obviously very high, and so Texas has taken it into their own hands to do something about protecting their state. They have put up barbed wire, razor wire, they have armed forces there, not letting anyone through and making it more difficult for the people to cross over into the United States illegally. The growing list of governors in support of Texas has become a huge point of conversation because it shows that many people, especially governors in different states and a lot of authority figures, don't agree with Biden's policies for open borders. This can create tension and weaken our state's government when we're not united, and when many governors and people in states are taking action against what the president has stated and set into place already. The recent border crisis has been a huge topic of conversation, but it's obviously very polarized and controversial. However, I believe that this can really weaken a state, especially the United States, because of how large and powerful we are. And it's impossible to know what those 50,000 people who would have come into the United States were bringing or what they intended to do when they got here. I believe that it weakens a state to not know what its citizens may be up to, and for security purposes, we as citizens are monitored and there's certain precautions in place by the government, but they can't do that the same way with people that are in here that we don't know about. I think that it can also weaken the state because we have a nation that completely disagrees with our president and his open border policies, and this can create obviously tension and make us weaker as a state. This article specifically was incredibly interesting to me because I thought how interesting it is that so many governors of different states are standing up with Texas and saying that they would do the same thing and that they agree with what Texas is doing to protect its borders. But I think it's also important to analyze that at the end of the day, this is a pretty 50-50 topic of conversation as far as like politics go. But this just shows that our governance in the United States is not something that everyone agrees on, and that makes me think that laws need to be changed and compromised on so that we have more agreements as a nation, which will overall strengthen our nation. It's also very important that we think about how the people, like the citizens, will feel about this. And I don't particularly agree with the open border policies, and I don't think that they adhere to what the American people want. However, it's very difficult because from a humanitarian point of view, this is something we want to open our country, our free country, to people who don't have that same privilege from where they are from. Overall, this whole article and this whole topic, they really highlight how important it is to protect and to protect your own country and the people inside of it as well. This article stated a lot about how the governors, these independent governors of different states, states like Montana, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Virginia, and West Virginia, all of their governors are coming forward and saying that they agree. So with all that being said, I do think that this speaks a lot to the governance of the United States, in that we are weakening ourselves when we cannot stand as a united front, and when we have governors and states going against the president's opinions and his policies. Texas is protecting its own state, but I think that our politics and our governance need to reflect what these states want, especially the states on the border, because Eagle Pass, Texas is especially the target for the busiest immigrant passing through into the United States. So I'm not surprised that they took it into their own hands. Overall, like I said, I do think that this speaks to the weakness of a state. And I think that overall, if this continues, that this will lead to a weaker state and could be detrimental. Thank you.